years, the United States has progressively produced some of the greatest weapons of mass destruction, yet few remain as significantly destructive as the 30,000-pound bunker buster. Recently, it was deployed on the Yemeni terrorist group, the Houthis, who have vandalized shipping lines on the Red Sea for so long. This strike drew global attention with its impressive penetrating power on reinforced concrete bunkers. How did this single moment change the momentum of the war? What were the specific outcomes in Yemen? Join us as we discuss the destructive capabilities of America's game-changing bunker buster. While the United States has had a reputation for producing some of the greatest weapons for warfare, for aerial, land, and naval combat, the bunker buster is a complete game-changer. But how did it all begin? Like nearly every piece of weaponry, the very first bunker buster bomb warhead was originally developed in a massive hurry during a war, specifically the 1991 Gulf War, to attack the fortified Iraqi capital's command center deep underground. Before the advent of a warhead capable of breaching an underground command center, fortified with reinforced steel, soldiers were tasked with a nigh impossible mission to open up these bunkers with their bodies and lives on the line. However, with the first advancement in bunker-busting warhead technology, everything changed. The GBU-28s were developed to weigh between 4,000 to 5,000 pounds and dropped out of the sky on their target, using one of the B-2 stealth bombers or the F-15E fighter bombers. It was produced originally by the Watervliet Arsenal, Watervliet, New York. One of its early problems, which stopped its manufacturing in the late 80s, was its possible inability to hit its target. However, all of that was soon debunked when satellite guidance was introduced, meaning the warhead could still hit its target in case of thick fog and heavy smoke. While the bomb weighs 4,500 pounds, only 600 pounds were made of just explosives, while the rest was simply dense depleted uranium. However, it was still super functional. But at what point is the bomb actually detonated? They triggered the BLU-113, a model of the GBU-28s, by using a special smart fuse technology. The fuse was pre-programmed to go off after encountering a certain number of hard layers, hence it needed impact to create a literal blast. However, before the BLU-113, there was a BLU-9B, which soldiers used to depend on to create a massive opening when they intended to break open a dense structure. Although it did the job for a while, the Iranians got even better at creating these underground bunkers, taking inspiration from the former Yugoslavia, which were experts at underground centers. Then came August 1990, when the military began planning an air offensive campaign against Iraq. At first, they believed that they could use laser-guided bombs, but they soon found out it would be impossible to penetrate fortified bunkers buried deep underground. Hence the birth of the GBU-28s. Just hours before the ceasefire, on the night of February 27, two General Dynamics F-111s were loaded with one GBU-28 each and hit a target on the outskirts of Baghdad. While the first one hit the wrong target, the next one directly hit the Al-Taji Air Base, penetrating the thick, reinforced concrete before detonating and taking out the targets. The success of the bunker buster had the whole world in awe, and as always, everyone wanted a taste of this game-changing warhead that could actually penetrate a bunker. As expected, foreign countries attempted to buy them, and Israel was the first to get one. This time, they asked for 100 units of the GBU-28 in April 2005 and got them the following year. However, as years rolled by, the warheads went through a series of improvements, with newer and more accurate versions of the bunker buster coming from the United States Air Force. It was a 30,000-pound warhead, about 6 times the size of an average GBU-28. While the world watched on, waiting to see it in action, the Houthi threat arrived just at the right time. The Houthis, who are officially referred to as Ansar Allah, have evolved from a marginalized Zaidi Shia group in Yemen and turned into a complete terrorist group. Their revivalist political and military organization has been in Yemen since time immemorial, with the backing of Iran, which sponsors the movement with money and ammunition. This anti-Semitic and anti-American organization has penetrated Yemen, fighting for more representation within the complex Yemeni tribe. While they grew in numbers, their little militia grew 1,000-fold and was armed to the teeth with weapons from Iran. Soon they took over Yemen. However, that just wasn't enough for the Houthis. They wanted more. This time, they aimed a little further, trying to control shipping routes and targeting American naval vessels, a decision they soon regretted. On the 17th of March 2025, the Houthi rebels claimed another attack on a United States naval vessel, calling it a retaliation for the United States attacking Yemen, especially on the 16th of March 2025. The United States President, Donald Trump, ordered the launch of airstrikes on the Houthis bases in Yemen, killing at least 53 Houthi soldiers in the process. The militia were aggravated and wanted revenge, so they once again threatened to attack Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea. According to a Pentagon spokesperson, he revealed that the Houthis have attacked the United States warships 174 times and their commercial vehicles 145 times. The Houthis had definitely rubbed the wrong country the wrong way, and the United States Central Command, which oversees the Middle East operations, has described their first attack on March 15, 2025, on Yemen as the beginning of a large-scale offensive mission across the whole of Yemen. However, having been trained by Iran, the Houthis have developed the skill of building deeply seated underground bunkers, and they are rumored to be impenetrable in contrast to the ones built in the late 80s and early 90s during the Gulf War. While this class of bunkers has found its way into modern warfare, the United States has also developed modern weapons to get a firm grip on the new direction of military warfare in recent times, especially with the creation of the GBU-57, an ordnance that weighs 30,000 pounds. The GBU-57 is a massive ordnance penetrator that uses a precision-guided system to locate targets. Although the very first bunker busters weighed a total of 5,000 pounds and penetrated the earth as it was expected, the creation of deeper bunkers led the United States Air Force to seek solutions from some of the smartest minds in weapons design in the United States, including Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. In 2002, Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin collaborated on an effort to develop a massive ordnance penetrator that weighed 30,000 pounds and could give off an effect that would be stronger than the first GBUs. However, it wasn't long before they had to stop. The project, of course, needed more than some of the best eggheads coming together to create a science marvel. It needed funding that they did not have, so they shelved the project. Following the Iraq invasion by the United States, when they needed a bunker buster and had to settle for the 5,000-pound weighted ordnance, the bomb analyst for the United States Air Force revealed poor penetration and a shambolic fatality rate, hence the rejuvenation of the project. Although the United States Air Force did not officially ask for an ultra-large ordnance, the review following the 2003 deployment in Iraq was more than enough to spur the government to reach out for a bigger bomb. First, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency decided to fulfill a long-standing need that the Air Force has always had: a bigger bomb for deeper bunkers. Although the Air Force already had a collection of some of the greatest weapons of mass destruction, including the massive Ordnance Air Blast Bomb, often called MOAB, they also wanted the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, often called the MOP. While Northrop Grumman had done their best with trying to create the bigger penetrator in the early 2000s, the Air Force Research Laboratory decided to take on the development phase of the new production while teaming up with Eglin Air Force Base, who worked on munitions, and finally Boeing, who ran the design and test work. Creating the bomb was the first challenge, with designs and munitions being deliberated and decided before they finally settled on one. But deployment was also important. It's not every day a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb is needed to break down enemy defense. But when the need arises, the United States will prefer to be prepared. Hence, they decided on using Northrop's subsonic B-2 Spirit as a conduit to carry and deploy the warhead, which will be guided using GPS. By 2007, Northrop Grumman announced a $2.5 million contract where they were tasked with fitting their B-2 stealth bomber with enough room to carry 2 of these new bunker buster bombs without problems. While the preparations were made earnestly, the first deployment did not happen until December 2010. However, in 2011, the United States Congress approved an $81.6 million injection into the project to further develop and improve the weapon. The weapons were improved drastically over the years and prepped for war. Soon, the need came on the night of October 17, 2024, when the United States Air Force mounted an attack on 5 targets in the Houthi-controlled Yemen using the massive ordnance penetration. Lloyd Austin, the United States Defense Secretary, announced that the United States aircraft used to deploy these bunker busters were the Northrop B-2 Stealth, which happens to be one of the very few fighter jets that are capable of carrying and launching a massive ordnance penetrator as large as the GBU-57. Like the reports suggest, the United Kingdom and the United States have often played fair when they attack Yemen, especially when their diplomatic interests do not align. Both countries have only ever attacked with relatively lighter weapons, in contrast to the possible deployment of the latest bunker buster. However, the Houthis remain continuously in American business, attacking ships and continuously discussing how much their mandate rests on unbridled hate for him. Hence, the United States reached a decision to attack all out, pulling out all the stops and actually making use of that large arsenal that the world knew they had. This was a unique demonstration of the United States' ability to target facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach, no matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified, said Lloyd Austin in a statement, confirming that he authorized these targeted strikes to protect and defend United States' forces and personnel in one of the world's most critical waterways. The ordnance was targeted in the Sana'a capital area and the Houthi stronghold of Sa'ada in the north. The bunker busters were launched on the southern outskirts of the Sana'a area, including Jabal Atan, Al-Hafa, and Nandain. All 3 of these areas have been used as storehouses for missile brigades since the 1980s by the Iran-backed Houthis terrorist cell. More importantly, each of these missile stores had nearby access to deep bunkers that were developed from natural caves. Although the United States forces were looking forward to a quick battle, as they had the leverage of better weapons and tactical training, they were confronted with a surprise. The Yemeni Houthis had a missile brigade who had serious knowledge of using ballistic missiles, which they also possessed. However, the United States forces were too well equipped, so their missile expertise and their bridge only mattered so much. The strikes of the GBU-57 resonated so loudly, almost as though the whole world could hear it. The penetration of this missile shattered their bunkers into pieces and also eliminated more than 20 people at a go. The impact of the GBU-57 raised fears and concerns in the hearts of allies who had just seen what the United States bunker buster bomb could do. The attack, therefore, strengthens the United States' deterrent posture and is a demonstration of what the United States might be capable of if Iranian actions were to escalate and draw in the United States. However, the Houthis have recently demonstrated a determination to continue having long-range strikes at the merchant vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden areas. But this time, they would not only be going for the United States vessels, but also keep gunning the Saudis and the Israelis. After flexing its military might, the United States has decided to find ways beyond dropping a bunker buster to negotiate with the Houthis and possibly completely stop them from the continuous shots at the United States war and merchant vessels. According to some sources, talks have begun between the United States and Iran, who are the vocal backers of the Yemeni Houthi terrorist cell, using back-channel organizations to negotiate peace and de-escalate the current conflict in the Middle East. However, should talks fail, the United States is obviously prepared, and other nations now have their sights set on acquiring the GBU-57. While news of the GBU-28s chimed like an alarm bell throughout the annals of the Gulf War, it didn't leave this kind of impression. Although the latter weighed between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds with a 600-pound warhead, the latter had a 5,000-pound warhead for deeper penetration and impact into underground bunkers. While Houthis keep their threats alive, Israel, the first nation to have bought 100 units of the first bunker busters, is rumored to be itching for a chance at being the first on the table for the biggest bunker buster in the world. Diplomatic relations between the United States and Israel have often been saddled with subtle differences that make their dealings quite difficult, ranging from President Bush's administration's decision not to sell the F-22 heavyweight stealth fighters to the Obama administration's decision to avoid selling Tel Aviv the V-22 Osprey tiltrotor. However, in recent times, speculations have refused to go away, with the Trump administration rumored to contemplate sanctioning a sale of the world's deadliest fighter jet and the world's biggest bunker buster to Israel, especially because they needed a way to fight Iran. Both countries shared a common enemy in the Yemeni Houthis, but they are actually backed by the Iranian government, making Iran the enemy. Whether President Donald Trump's administration then sanctions the sale or not remains a doubt. While Israel remains a possible client of the United States, trying to get some of their greatest weapons from their arsenal, Saudi Arabia has also been touted as a contender for Israel, looking to get their hands on the largest bunker buster in the world and some Northrop B-2 Spirits, tailor-made to carry this 14-ton bomb, in hopes to also conquer the Iran-backed Yemeni Houthis, the same terrorist cell that has been attacking them since 2004. Although it isn't the first time that the United States has sold a powerful warfare technology to another country, can they be tempted enough to let go of this latest invention too? Is their war with the Houthis going to be enough to facilitate a sale of their latest bunker buster? The effect of the bombings on the 17th of October 2024 has been global, and the world can see exactly. Imagine a bomb weighing 30,000 pounds being dropped out of the sky not only with precision, but with an aircraft that can manipulate radar and counter A2AD aerial defensive systems. While having a bomb dropped is something, imagine having a bomb dropped unannounced, signifying the importance of the B-2 Spirit to deploying the massive bomb. Although the game-changer tag has always been attached to the latest massive ordnance penetrator, the bunker buster, and rightly so, the Northrop B-2 Spirit remains an important part of its success. More importantly, the B-2 could also exist outside the world's largest bunker buster. The B-2 had been in existence since the 70s, when military aircraft designers had only started to learn a new method to avoid missiles and interceptors, known today as stealth, with different ideologies added together to create one such fighter jet. The concept was easy enough. They had to build an aircraft having radar stealth features and able to fly nearly undetected, by flying so high into the sky while traveling at subsonic speed and only able to be attacked by weapons and systems using radar systems. It was a genius concept that could change the world completely. The B-2 was first publicly displayed on November 22, 1988 at United States Air Force Plant 42 in Palmdale, California, where it was assembled. This viewing was heavily restricted, and guests were not allowed to see the rear of the B-2. However, Aviation Week editors found that there were no airspace restrictions above the presentation area and took aerial photographs of the aircraft's secret rear section. However, this aircraft was always designed to take over as the United States Air Force's vital penetration mission, deploying all types of ordnance and other payloads while avoiding the radar systems. It was designed with no fuselage or tail, making it even harder to detect for any radar. It was the perfect countermeasure to anti-access measures set up by most countries in the Indo-Pacific, European, and Middle Eastern airspaces. The B-2 was the perfect game changer, with significant advantages over previous bombers due to its blend of low observable technologies with high aerodynamic efficiency and a large payload, meaning it could rarely be seen and had the tendency to fly higher than usual, providing a much broader optics of the targeted area. Its payload ranged from nuclear weapons to atomic bombs until the retrofitting contract in 2007, where it was retrofitted with capabilities to carry a huge bunker buster. Whether anyone gets their hands on this pair aside from the United States remains to be seen. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.